What is this? Is this a letter tray? And is this maybe the best way to store your minis? Find out more on Reviews Day Tuesday. First Tuesday of the month. And what does that mean? Reviews Day Tuesday. So, this time, we're looking at the kvissle from IKEA. This might actually be one of the best ways I have seen to store minis. Is this my idea? Absolutely not. This is done by tons of people before me. I got the idea from some other person on a Facebook group, and they had got it from another person, and they had got it from another person. So, whoever did this first, you're an absolute genius. I've tried a handful of different ways to store my minis or display my minis, and they never really worked all that well, especially when I got into Warhammer and the hobby got out of hand. When I was just playing D&D, there were a couple of different storage options that worked out pretty cool, such as just like shoe boxes or those clear plastic shoe boxes for the most part that you get at Target, Walmart, or any other big box store. But as you start to build up bigger and bigger armies, it does kind of work, but I kind of wanted something more, something a little bit better, and something I could show my minis off on, especially as I got better at painting. I didn't want to keep them hidden inside of a box. So how do I put them out on display? I was putting them out onto a shelf, and quite frankly, they were getting knocked over a lot, and I ran out of room on the shelf pretty darn quick because it wasn't taking advantage of the vertical space. So when I saw people suggest the kvissle, I took a look at a couple of different examples, and I just dove right in. So as you can see, it works out super well. This is pretty loaded. The Blood Knights, they're not overly heavy, but they're definitely not light. And it's keeping them up there pretty well. And these work with all different size minis. I'll go grab another box here in a minute that's going to show you a lot of smaller minis and how you can utilize all the different spaces in them. They each come with cork lined in them, and if you put a good enough magnet, it's going to hold it just fine, regardless of the cork being there. I've seen a handful of people strip out the cork, but I just haven't had a need to do it. So, I haven't. There are a couple of modifications I have in mind that I want to do. One of them is, I don't know if anybody else has this issue, I'm assuming I do a lot of this in my basement. Basements get pretty dusty. People running across the ceiling, actually running across the floor, which happens to be the ceiling down here. So dust just kicks around. So I am working on getting a plexiglass to go over the front. How I'm going to fasten it on there, I'm trying to mess around with a couple ideas for magnets. And the other one is transportation. I've taken these to my friend's games house, and they worked out great. I've taken them to the game store, and this worked out great. I kind of rearranged the way that I store it. Maybe I'm taking all my Blood Knights, maybe I'm taking all my zombies, and I can usually store almost everything I'm taking, aside from the big dragons or centerpiece models, inside of this for a 2,000 point game, along with extras. Like if you're playing a summoning army, you can bring enough to summon and keep it in just one of these. It transports pretty well. The only thing is it is got a little bit of give side to side. Some people have thrown some screws into the side to hold it together a little bit more. One thing I want to look at doing is putting straps that go around it. First off, to hold these in, because that is a major issue I've had as I've been driving. And one of these just comes open because the guy in front of me stops a little bit quicker than I thought. Maybe I'm driving like a jerk. The idea that I have is to put straps going around it with a handle on top so I can pick it up and carry it a lot easier. I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe in a future video or just a quick TikTok update, I'll throw that in there. But for now, this works absolutely fantastic. So let's go look at one or two other options. So here's another pretty good example of the different size minis that you can keep. You can actually store some pretty good centerpiece minis in here. I have transported a couple of Gargants in them, but when you get to something like a Gargant, that's pretty much all that you're going to keep in there. However, you can keep incredibly small minis to condense space, and if you're bringing a horde army, you can easily fit it all. So this isn't an actual slot, but there's a little arm at the bottom. So if you utilize that to drop it into, you have a very shallow storing area that you can keep. There is a drawback to it. It's not actually meant for it. So this will fall right down. It doesn't have the added benefit of being in the slots to hold it in place. Would I buy these again? Absolutely. I've got 5 of them, and I've been debating on if I need a couple more as my armies are growing and expanding. And maybe I'm starting a new army. Who knows? Anyway, Kvissle, I give this a 10 out of 10. If I gave it a 9 out of 10, it would simply be because maybe it could use a little bit more reinforce along the sides. But honestly, it's a letter tray. Absolutely no need for it. And they're $25 versus the carrying cases that you get for display cases and going to tournaments. They're $100 a piece. So you can literally buy 4 of these for the exact same price as one of those. You can pretty much store 4 armies or 2 extremely large size armies. I have 12,000 points in Soul Blight, and other than the dragons and the Mortarks and some of the bigger models like that, I've got them all stored in 1.5 of these. I'd say that's pretty good. If anybody has used a kvissle or done any modifications to it, throw it in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what everybody has done. Like I said, the only real modification I've seen that anyone do is just to throw some screws on the side for support. I think there's actually a lot of potential that you can do with these, especially when you look at making a door over it, or maybe carrying handles, or maybe modifying the traying option somehow. So if you have, throw it in the comments below. If there's something that you use that's completely different, similar for mini storage and transportation that you think is unique, throw it in the comments below. I know a lot of people love to use the large clear plastic containers with a magnetic sheet at the bottom. So if you've done anything that you found kind of revolutionary, throw it in the comments below. In short, throw it in the comments below. Until next time, I'll put you nanas.